Partner and Chief Strategy Officer at the Pedowitz Group, and welcome to my show called Get Real with Revenue Marketing. And you should know the drill by now. We just get together with what I call Friends of Debbie just to talk about what's happening in the market. And, you know, a lot of the people that I have on the show, I really consider them to be pioneers because they're not just doing the same old thing. They're really coming up with new, innovative ideas because our market is moving so very, very quickly. And so today, I am so happy to have my good friend, Mike Rizzo, on the show with us. Say hi, Mike.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
Let me tell you about this guy. He looks young, but let me tell you about him. He is the founder of MOPs. What, about 1,700 members now in the community?
Yeah, it's climbed. I don't even have a number anymore. It's
just
over 1,800.
climbing. And his passion is marketing operations professionals. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. So Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got the idea for MOPs.
Yeah, MOPs. Thank you, Debbie, by the way, for having me on. I know it took us a while to get this scheduled. We're both busy, but I was super, super thrilled that we get to have a chat, and I'm glad that I'm considered a friend. And so, yeah, MOPs was something that came out of really me being alone in a marketing operations function, which I think a lot of us in that role experience, right? Especially in smaller organizations, startups, and there's a lot of those, right? The enterprise space isn't quite as large as the numerous numbers of startups in the world. And so typically you're a team of one. And that means when you start talking about the problems you have with anybody, your spouse or your friends or your coworkers, their eyes start kind of rolling in the back of their head. They don't really understand what you're saying.
They have no concept.
No, just like none whatsoever. And they say, that sounds complicated. that's about it, right?
Right.
And so MOPs was just a Slack channel. You wouldn't have called it a community. I started it way back in 2017, which feels like many, many lifetimes ago now. And it was just meant to be a way for me to stay connected with people that I met at conferences like Dreamforce and all of those things. And long story short, I wrote a blog post about it. Over the years, people kept asking to join as they discovered that blog post. It was a one-to-one invite process, a little bit tedious. And I finally automated it in 2019. And I said, hey, this has always been a place for every single marketing operations professional. Doesn't matter what platform you use. It's a place to come and connect and talk shop with people that actually understand your challenges.
I love that. And I love that you recognize that need in the market. I talk a lot about marketing ops as an organization, and I talk about leadership. But when you think about the individual person that is serving in that marketing operations role, you're right, it's lonely. Yeah. Because what marketing operations professionals do has become so incredibly complex. And so when you think about your community and how it has grown, what do you think has attracted people to join that community?
First and foremost, it's really the ability to connect with other MOPs, like that pro-to-pro connection, the ability to, instantly send out a message to someone into a forum. Ideally, you're engaging in our community forum where knowledge is stored permanently, not just on our free Slack channel. But even in the Slack channel, you'll usually get a response within an hour tops, which is pretty amazing. And
it is.
And they tend to respond more to the opportunity to connect and learn from other people than really anything else. And I think it harks back to the reason why I started it. I mean, you're so alone, you feel like you can't talk to anybody. And now there's a place where you can do that. You can call this community home, and we want it to be a safe space for everyone to be able to come in and talk shop and really think about career growth. And I think that's the other thing that's taking us up a couple levels is, we're building programs that help these MOPs think about, where do I go from here? To quote your book a little bit and think, frankly, things that I've said literally to my bosses in my career, how do I move from button pusher to someone that's a strategic enabler?
Yeah, absolutely. So you started in 2017, right? Kind of playing around with the idea and looking for like people to talk to. But so much has changed. I mean, marketing operations has changed, what it's responsible for, what it should and could be all about. So how do you see the progression of the marketing operations professional?
Yeah, I think the marketing operations professional is taking on a little bit of a new life, and there's a bit of a divergence for, I think, different members, depending on where they want to take their career. I think at large, we're seeing, just to go kind of more macro level, at large, we're seeing marketing operations head in the direction of understanding that there is no success in marketing operations unless you are cross collaborating and going across
Absolutely.
what I call party lines.
Absolutely.
So whether that's sales or client
Yep.
success,
Yep.
IT,
Yep.
you have to integrate with those.
And don't you find that marketing operations does that much better than marketing ever did?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I think truthfully, I'm both a growth master certified, from the Growth Hackers practicum, and marketing operations, and just kind of a marketeer in general. I've been on a lot of teams where they hold things close to the vest, right? Where they don't really want you to have much of a say, because truthfully, everybody's a marketer. Like, everybody thinks that they're a marketer, and that's okay. I don't think I'm a salesperson, so there's that part. But marketing operations, when you have an opportunity to sit with the team, marketing specifically, and then you start figuring out how to go sit with sales and client success, I think you're well practiced in how to understand the outcome that is desired, and potentially how to achieve that. And for those that's kind of going back to that idea of like splitting between two different paths, for those that want to take on a little bit more of that strategy hat and not be a deeply technical marketing operations professional, that's where you're gonna end up having more success, right?
I agree.
If you're heading on the strategy side, it's spending time collecting inputs, trying to understand outcomes, and then strategically recommending how to get there.
Yeah,
But
really
acting sure alignment happens along the way.
Oh yeah, acting like a consultant, right?
Yes,
because
exactly.
again, the unique experience and knowledge that a MoPro brings to a conversation, they know what's possible with the technology, they know what's possible with the data, and they can sit in these strategy sessions, whether it's marketing, executives, sales, whoever it is, and they can really spin it up. They can up level these strategies, right? I mean, how often do you see organizations where marketing is using, I don't know, 25% of the capability that they have in their hands, and then you bring in a marketing operations professional, a MoPro, and then all of a sudden, they're using 50, 60%. And what they're able to do and how they're able to affect strategy changes drastically.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just if I could leverage that just for a second, and I know you've shared this many times over, leveraging the technology more holistically is great. You're getting better ROI out of the platform, and you get to flex a little and say, look at how cool we are with the technology that we've purchased, which I think is part of the job. But just overemphasizing a point that you've made many times over, it's not just about leveraging the technology further, it's also tying that to business outcomes. And
absolutely,
I know we're totally in alignment on that.
Yeah, we are
listening,
we are.
Getting to that 30, 40, 50% of utilization on a platform to better enable business strategy that's your job. That's actually your job.
That is. I completely agree. Yeah. And I call MoPros like purple unicorns, because they have to understand marketing, they have to understand tech and data, they have to be analytical, they have to be consultants, they have to be collaborators, and they need to understand the game of business, right? And how to create a business result, not just do a bunch of stuff. And so a lot of times I see
buttons.
Right. When marketing ops comes in and grows within an organization, we see all those things really beginning to happen. And so I'm so happy to see the growth of, number one, the number of professionals, but number two, marketing ops as an actual professional practice. So I know that you do a lot of research. So you want to tell me a little bit about your research, and then I'd also like to hear about, I think you're working on a certification, a marketing ops certification program.
Yeah. So first, on the research side of things, I don't have any really fun nuggets to share right now. But the first State of the MoPro research report will be published in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks. It is a project that, at the end of the day, is intended to help us. Actually, let me take a step back. Most of the programs that MoPros will put out is intended to enable, and I said this earlier, enable the MoPro to find a path forward in their career, but also to do what I call manage up. I think leadership struggles to understand the function. And so this State of the MoPro, at least in its first iteration, was intended to collect data about a pulse check on the industry. What's going on? What's your title? What do you think you're going to do next? How long have you been in your role? What size company are you in? And then try to understand the career trajectory and aspirations of these professionals, so that leadership could better understand how to engage with these professionals moving forward. So the State of the MoPro research is coming out soon. That was thanks to our partner HubSpot. We got great distribution on it. We had
I can't wait to see it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm super excited. We had well over 700 respondents to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really something special, and we'll do it annually. And then beyond that, yes, we are working, again, kind of managing up the certification that I'm talking about working on. And it's certainly not just me, it's literally everyone. In fact, in my blog post that I published recently, where I kind of had my statement to the world that this is my passion project and I'd really like to bring it to life, which is MoPros and all of the things we're working on. I put a call out to the world. I said, hey, I want to build a really powerful industry first certification for marketing operations professionals. And I want everybody to give me the input on it, because I cannot do this alone. And this certification is supposed to tee up the professional to be able to say, hey, here's what I actually do. And the reason I'm certified in these things is not because I took a test and I know how to use Marketo really well, or HubSpot or Eloqua or Pardot or any other technology platform. It's because what I did is I completed a practicum. And so, kind of lifting the veil a little bit, my strategy here is complete a practicum. And I think Highway Education is doing something similar, but they're moving, they're doing it for the entrance into the market. We're doing this for someone who's a little bit further into their career. Right. And so what they're going to do is complete a practicum that's really inspired by our marketing operations playbook that we sell on our website. It's a template. And it says, these are the ways in which our business, our unique business, our company operates. These are the life cycle stages that we have, and the lead sources and the attribution models that we all agree to. And in fact, when I say all agree to, I mean someone put pen on paper, or maybe in this case, clicked to digitally sign a document that said, yes, I agree. I, the sales ops person, or I, the VP of sales or customer success or IT, or whoever on your team that you need to interact with, is signing off on this that says, yes, this is how our business functions. We are in alignment. That, to me, is what defines the future of what marketing operations professionals should be doing. And further establishes you as someone that's, credible in the space.
So let me ask you this: when you think about the practicum, and again, Highway Education is for brand new young people, have done nothing, trying to come into the world of marketing operations, and your certification is going to be more around for the person that's already in it. If you were to think about the general categories of learning in that practicum, what would they be? Because, for example, one of the things that we talked about was how to manage up. Right? So I would imagine that there's some soft skills training that would be involved in that, not just the technical and data aspects.
Yeah, I think there's an element of, you're absolutely right. There's an element of soft skills training, but a lot of that just comes from being on the job. What we're actually asking them to do from of course, this is like in its infancy, right? It doesn't even really exist yet. There's a bunch of questions and research we have to do. But what I envision happening is the MoPro will take this practicum and actually have to go have strategic conversations. The only way that the the document actually gets built out. So what I'm asking them to do is literally go build a marketing operations playbook and define your processes and get in alignment with your team members across.
I love that.
And then have them sign off on it. So inherently through that practice, there's soft skills that are being built within the organization, because you have to figure out how do I get their attention? How do I tell them what the reason for this is? And we'll coach them a little, right? Here's what you can say to initiate a conversation with a head of sales or whoever it is that you need to interface with. And here's how you might get that process rolling. But yes, you're absolutely right. We are inherently going to be focused on a little bit of soft skills, but definitely understanding the technical infrastructure of what's going on at that unique organization. And that's what's critical here.
So let me ask you this, a lot of times, marketing has one strike against them being considered the pens and mugs department. And then here comes, marketing operations, and they carry around the moniker of being the button pushers, the tech people. How do you help a MoPro elevate the understanding of what marketing operations could and should be doing for their organization?
So to play that back, how does MoPros as an organization help these individuals better understand what they could and should be doing, if I'm understanding?
And how does that individual up-level the organization that they're working in, right?
I think there's a long road ahead of us to figure out the exact answer to that question. I can point to your book, so that's helpful. There's lots of industry research and things changing right now that help enable and educate marketing operations professionals on how to think about growing in their career. Of course, going from backroom to boardroom is a great book for anyone to pick up. And I think that that's probably a great starting point. But working inside of, shamelessly plugging like our community, there's a lot of communities, folks. Like, you don't have to be in MoPros. You can go to some of the other revenue communities as well, and you'll get just as much value out of those, I'm certain. But I think taking the time to engage, don't be afraid to ask questions and engage with people that are senior to you or junior to you for that matter. Because truthfully, talking to someone junior who's got questions for you will actually open your eyes to what you maybe already learned or what you still need to go learn, because they've got interesting questions.
It absolutely will. So, a couple of weeks ago, we did a webinar. Scott Brinker was on it, and Toby Murdoch was on it, and we were talking about talent and how do you find talent. And so when you think about within your community, we see hiring a marketing operations professional right now as an extraordinarily hot market. I mean, these people, when they start looking, they're getting like multiple job offers, right? So what advice do you have for companies who were trying to hire MoPros?
Oh, man. My only piece of advice is good luck. No.
I know, that's a terrible thing to say, Mike.
It's so hard right now.
It's so hard right now.
And it's a great problem to have for folks like us in the marketing ops space, in the community space. It's what do they call it? It's a buyer's market in this case, right?
It is.
And so you've got a lot of leverage.
Seller's market.
It's
the seller's market. Yeah.
Seller's market. You're right.
Yeah.
Seller's market. I would say if you're looking to hire talent, be transparent about what you envision for the role. Be transparent about, and what I mean by that is this supposed to be a management level role? Is it supposed to be technical? Do you as an organization feel like there's a path for this person to take on new challenges and learn something? At this point, your differentiation is really, if somebody wants to learn a new tech stack and you happen to have that for them, you got to find that one. Or it's not even your compensation package. The reality is that if you're able to compete for the right talent, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. It's going to be, what are you looking to learn? and what can we help you achieve in your
Right.
career? Like, where do you want to go next, especially
Right.
in this type of market?
So one of the things that we're also seeing is that marketers really want to work for companies that have some kind of cause that they can identify with. Are you also seeing that across marketing operations professionals?
I think so. I mean, speaking personally, I I wasn't overly excited about early in my career. I was offered an opportunity that jumped my salary significantly at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally pick me up out of one chair and move me into another chair about an hour and a half away. And it was the same job, just a different company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason I passed on that offer was that it was a soil regeneration company. Don't get me wrong. Some people may love that industry
Right.
and be super passionate about it. It just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, and that was 10 years ago. And so I think, you know, not to touch too much on scratch the itch of the millennial thing, but I
But we
think
have to. We have
we
to.
do,
It's a
we do,
changing dynamic.
we do, we absolutely do, and so yes, a lot of the professionals in this age bracket now would like to understand the overarching vision and mission of an organization,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not that is to do better in the world, like feed all of the puppies,
Mm-hmm.
or it's purely just to understand that, hey, give you an example. The organization I used to work for has a big vision, a big mission to be a leader in project and resource management in a totally new way.
Mm-hmm.
And I said yes right away. Right, that didn't have anything philanthropic or anything like that, but I understood they
It was a
conveyed
cool
the
vision,
message.
something you
Yeah,
wanted to be a part of, something
right.
exciting and dynamic,
Exactly.
something
They
that was
conveyed that
really
message, and I think
continuing.
that's important.
Yes,
That's super
yes,
important. So
yes,
yes,
yes.
I would say
So,
yes, marketing operations.
the other question I wanted to ask you is, when you interact with the community, Mike, what are you seeing as typical responsibilities within a marketing ops organization? Because, it's still the wild, wild west days of what happens and what are those roles and responsibilities within marketing ops. But what are you seeing as the most common set of responsibilities that they have? And what unique thing have you seen that was kind of unexpected?
Oh goodness. Um, so managing your Martech stack is a given, right? Typically, the Martech stack will be inclusive of um, your marketing automation platform, an integration to a CRM. Uh, if you're using any other providers for webinars and landing pages, those would be things that fall traditionally into that marketing up. I don't think that definition has changed much, though.
That's still the core. That's still
It's
the
still the
basic. It's
core.
the foundation, right?
Yeah, the difference though is that there's just more integrations in general now, and so
Yeah,
that makes things a bit more complex.
yeah.
Um, I would say that's your staple. The responsibility going kind of up a level ish, or maybe it's deeper, is data quality,
Oh,
right? And being responsible, kind of the gosh, the post in the ground. I can't think of the line in the sand,
yeah.
right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
have the buck stops somewhere,
Right.
and someone needs to be the purveyor of truth of like what it means
And
for
don't you find
attribution.
and don't
And
you
I think that's
find that being that data steward is one of the things that really sets up these cross-functional collaborations and discussions,
oh,
because
without
there's
a doubt.
data all over the company, and especially when a company's using data to get that one view of the customer. A lot of times marketing operations is the organization that's really helping the entire organization have that discussion, which is way, way different.
Oh, without a doubt, Debbie, completely. Perfect example. I was talking to a good friend yesterday, and they said, our organization has decided that they want to send out billing reminders and upsell and renewal reminders via Marketo. And you can do that, but they want the CPQ system that's in Salesforce to basically leverage Marketo's email engine to do this like customer communication stuff. And the reality is that the data is horribly difficult to manage, right? Renewal dates and
that's going to
the
be so
logic you have to
messed
write.
up.
Oh,
Terms, conditions,
it's
pricing. Yeah.
horrible. And here she is saying to me, hey, we can do this time, but it's a one-time program. Like, this is not scalable, right? And you
And
can't
even the
do
one
this.
time, the chances are without good, clean data, it's going to be all messed up.
Yeah.
Because again, understanding what everybody has and making sure that you have that amount of customization. I mean, just because you can doesn't mean you should, based on what kind of data quality you have.
Right, exactly. And she said our team on like the client success and kind of that side of the house, the finance side of the house, they thought that by switching to this new process and program for CPQ would just magically fix all the bad data.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it doesn't. And
there's no magic when it comes to data. It's
not
hard
at
work.
all. And
No.
she's like, going back to what you were asking, like, she is a steward of good data, and she's being an enabler. She's saying, hey, this is the conversation we have to have. The reality is that this system and this system are not set up to work that way. There are systems that are built for this. Let's talk about how to get there. Yes, we can do a workaround this time, but no, this is not good for the business long run. And hopefully someone listens, right? Because it's hard to get the ear of the leadership sometimes.
It is. And again, that's why you have to be a great communicator, including all the bad things that could go wrong, right? And then all the right ways to do things. Right. So, you've been looking at this since 2017 as a professional. I think I did my first marketing operations maturity model in 2017. That's when I also became very fascinated with what was going on in this area. And we changed so much since 2017. What do you see as the future for MOPROs, the individual?
The individual, yeah. There was actually an episode we did on our podcast, Opscast, recently with Vivian, and I actually agree that there is a really strong likelihood that as the MOPRO continues in their career path and their strategic understanding of how business works from a technology infrastructure perspective, and all of the business systems requirements that help enable a business to get from A to Z, they have a chance to really hit the C-suite. Like,
I agree.
Kudos to the relatively recently appointed CMO at Mavenlink, who I wasn't even in a marketing operations function anymore before I left that organization. I was actually building their community, but I had built their tech stack originally. And so I knew a lot about it. And man, the questions that he was asking from a technical perspective and the data fascination and the data interest that he was taking to enable his decisions. Yeah, he is a new age CMO that's leveraging the right type of technological.
Given the importance of digital transformation for everything, right? And it was very important and critical for business success prior to the pandemic. That whole thing's on steroids now. How could you not have a CMO who was going to be more deeply informed about technology and data and how to use that, right? So I would agree with you, Mike. I think we're going to see more folks with that background coming into the C-suite. I mean, I think it's going to be an evolution that simply has to happen. What I am seeing now is that the best CMOs have their head of marketing operations as their wing person, right? And they're like a 1-2 punch. They're like the dynamic duo. That's how they get business done.
I completely agree. Particularly, it's so compelling and so interesting to see what'll happen over the next 10 years when you have someone at the C level saying, but is that integration functioning the way that it should? What's our actual sync time between these systems? How long does it take me to get a lead? Did you set that up right? Because I actually understand a little bit about how that works, and it seems to me that something's off. And that's just a compelling thing to try to
come out. It absolutely is.
But gosh, if you have someone as a partner next to you, a wing person, I think that's a great strategy too. Frankly, maybe I would be in a C-level role from an marketing operations path at some point in my career. I'm not opposed to that, but What I will say is that I'm not an expert in, PR strategy or some of the other components of being a pretty darn good chief marketing officer. And so I think it's okay. I'd be
Oh
happy to be
yeah,
a wake person,
you
right?
can't be great at everything, and that's absolutely why you have a team. So
Right.
Mike, we're at time. Give a shameless plug for MoPros. Tell the listening audience where they can go and the kinds of things that they can access.
Yeah, absolutely. So MoPros is at www.themopros.com, themopros.com. You can sign up, join the community free on Slack. If you do choose to subscribe to us, you are enabling all of the programs. We actually do a lot of great content and lots of great programs to help support you. And we would love to have you as a full member, but we would love you just as much to be inside of Slack with us as well.
It is so worth it for all you marketing operations professionals. Well, Mike, thank you so much. I'm glad we could finally get this set up,
Me
and I'll
too.
see you in Atlanta next week.
Yeah, I will see you there. Take care,
Okay,
Debbie.
bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next time on Get Real with Revenue Marketing.